All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Kyle Nixon, and I serve as the Director of Recruitment and Orientation here at the University of Memphis. I want to welcome you to our Tiger to Tiger alumni event tonight, featuring some of our wonderful alums who are currently working in the business and/or hospitality industries across the country. We're excited to have you here tonight to engage with these members of the Tiger community. And we hope that you all are able to get some information that will certainly help you during your college search process, as well as your experience if you choose the University of Memphis. To kick us off, I want to talk a little bit about what the format of tonight will be and tell you a little bit more about what you can expect. As you know, this is a webinar style Zoom. And so while we can't see you, you are able to see us on the screen. And we also have a function at the bottom of the screen where you're able to ask questions for the alums or for the admissions office in general. And then, of course, our contact information is listed there. If you have questions after tonight or along the way, please feel free to reach out to us and we'll be glad to assist you. Now I'm going to turn it over to Paige Rooney, who is our Assistant Director of Recruitment in the Office of Admissions and Orientation, to share a little bit more with you.
Thank you, Kyle, for kicking us off. And again, thank you everybody for joining this evening. We are really excited to get to know you a little bit and see who we have here, and to have some really great alumni share their experiences and a little bit about what it's like where they are now and kind of how they got here. So it wasn't so long ago that they were all in your shoes at some point trying to figure out what the best college decision was. But they have the benefit of hindsight being 2020, and they had the opportunity to experience all the things and all the ups and downs that hopefully you will get to experience. And so they've got a little bit of wisdom to share with you tonight. So before we do that, we would really love to see who we have here with us tonight. And so if you would click down, there should be 3 dots on your screen. Those of you who are living on Zoom, you may already know how to do this, but there should be 3 dots and you should be able to utilize the chat feature. There's also 2 options on the chat. There's one that says all panelists and attendees. That means you're talking to everybody. And then there's one that says all panelists. That means you're just sending something, maybe a question or a specific comment to just the panelists. So only those that you can see on video can see that. So we would love for you all to use the all panelists and attendees. Tell us your name and your hometown and what you want to major in, and or what you want to do after college. Maybe you know, maybe the major is as far as you've gotten, and maybe you don't know that yet. That's okay. Maybe part of being here is to try to figure out what it is that maybe you want to do. We would love to see some of that happening in the chat. And I do want to encourage you to use the chat throughout the event. We want to hear what you're thinking, hear how you're doing, and get some questions through that feature. So please use that chat throughout the course of the evening. You can also use the Q&A feature. That will be where you just send a specific question for our panel that we'll address either through typing it out and giving you a specific answer, or answering it for the whole group. And so thank you, Miss Jackson, for being the first person and getting it started. Somebody's got to kick it off. So we would love to see all of you telling us who you are in the chat. We'll let that keep going, but I'll move it right along because you probably don't want to hear from me. I am just an admissions representative and I'm here to facilitate. We want you to get to meet all of the great folks who are in the industry that you hope to join one day, possibly, and who've had those great student experiences. So we'll go through and have our panelists introduce themselves just in the order on the screen, and y'all tell us a little bit about yourselves and how you got to where you are today.
Awesome. I'll kick us off. I am Allison Bauman, and I currently work at Hilton, and I'll tell you more about that in a second. But first, I am local. I'm born and raised in Memphis, and then I got the opportunity to go to University of Memphis, which I gladly took. When I got to college, I had no clue what I wanted to do, so I dabbled between biology and hospitality, and then eventually settled on international business. And so while I was in college, I applied for a job at Hilton's headquarters, one of them which is here in Memphis, just for a customer service position. About 10 years later, I am still there, but now I'm not in customer service. I'm actually in a team called Recognition, which is under an HR umbrella, and what we do is we design all of the engagement, reward, and recognition activities for all of our more than 6,000 hotels around the world. So if you had told me in college this is what I would have been doing, I would have said, no way, you're kidding. But yeah, but it's through the experiences that U of M provided me and the networking and connections I made while I was there and afterwards that have really kind of got me where I am today.
Awesome. I'll go next. Hello, everyone. My name is Andrew Mock. Graduated from the University of Memphis in 2018 with a degree in accounting, and 2019 with my master's of business administration. Currently, I work at AutoZone downtown as a category manager. A few things to note. I'm looking at the chat. There's some people who are talking about majoring in business and don't know what part just yet, and that's completely fine. I was in your shoes when I first came to the University of Memphis. I knew I wanted to be in business, but not exactly sure what I wanted to get into. That's something that you can figure out along the way, and it worked out for me just fine. I ended up going to the accounting route. And after graduating from the University of Memphis, I actually got an opportunity to intern for AutoZone in their finance department. After a few months working there, I was exposed to a different side of the business, merchandising, and decided to go for it. That's something that really interested me, and I was fortunate enough to get a full-time opportunity in the merchandising department and have been there ever since for the past 2.5 years. So yeah, that's me.
Hi, my name is Ashley Ricasa. I graduated in 2013, and like many of you in this chat, I entered wanting, to understand better what I wanted to actually do at the end of all of this. I wasn't sure. I came in as a political science major, and that is definitely not what I majored in at the end. So I graduated with a marketing management major with a minor in legal thought. In my time, and since graduation, I have predominantly spent my time at AutoZone, and then I moved to Phoenix, Arizona to work at PetSmart at their corporate headquarters, and most recently at First Horizon Bank, which was formerly First Tennessee downtown. And I think just in marketing, obviously it's a very broad term. So specifically what I worked on was predominantly in CRM and in loyalty programs. So at AutoZone and at PetSmart, I worked predominantly on loyalty programs, things like if you are familiar with Starbucks rewards or PetSmart treats. I actually launched PetSmart treats at PetSmart. So that has been where I focused the majority of my time, and really, really enjoyed it. And what I would say is I went in thinking one thing and I came out another. So be sure to keep an open mind.
Hello, everyone. My name is David Perry. I work for International Paper Company. I manage our truck and intermodal carriers that haul our products in North America. A little bit unlike Hilton and AutoZone, you may not know what we do at International Paper, but I see there are some local folks on the chat. So I'll explain a little, but not too much. We're a leading producer of fine papers, industrial packaging, and fluff pulp that goes into a lot of things like diapers and things like that. But we're in a lot of the things that you use every day, but you probably don't really know it. I graduated a little bit longer ago than some of the folks on here, so I've had a little bit longer career. I won't bore you with all that, but the themes are very much the same. I came to the university when I was 19. I was a transfer actually into the university. I decided that I wanted to be in the business school, and marketing seemed like the most fun thing to do. I stayed with marketing because I started to enjoy the technical side of that around analytics and problem solving, things like that. I quickly found out jobs are hard to get in marketing. I applied for, just like Allison, a customer service job with International Paper, and I knew the company, and a friend that was with the company told me, just get in and you'll have a great career. Well, I found that I really enjoyed supply chain, and there was a lot in supply chain that tied to marketing. and have worked my way through a 25, 26-year career at IP in several different supply chain positions. So I currently now get to work with and deal with our truck carriers, and I can see Paige laughing because I work with Paige's husband sometimes. But, it is a challenge, but I love it every day because I get to solve problems and I get to use those skills that I learned back in the university. Plus, I also get to come back and do some recruiting for supply chain at the U of M. Glad to be here.
My name is Dixon Williams. I graduated from Memphis in 2014 with a bachelor in business, specifically in marketing as well, like most of the people in here. I did start out with accounting, and I think I did a little bit of hospitality, and so I think you'll hear the common theme of we bounced around. But luckily at Memphis, especially in the business school, you can have the opportunity to explore and know what you really like. Everybody thinks accounting, you're going to make a lot of money, and then you realize you don't like accounting, and you realize you can make money anywhere in business, and it's a good opportunity. I came back a few years later and got my MBA and enjoyed that experience. But I currently am an assistant director for corporate partnerships at Dana-Farber, which is a cancer institute up in Boston. It's probably a top 5 cancer institute in the world in terms of their treatment and care. It's the nonprofit space. And, I started my first 6 or 7 years was with St. Jude Children's Research Hospital and working in their philanthropic area, both in the Indiana area. Moved back to Memphis after living in Indianapolis for a couple of years, worked in Memphis for a few years, and truthfully just wanted to explore a new city personally. So have been up to Boston, actually have a new job sometime soon with a different nonprofit starting in March, but it just kind of shows, even in the nonprofit space, the abilities to be able to move around and the experiences that you get to have. And I would truthfully say, in terms of Memphis Business School and choosing schools, because I know some of you guys may not be even set on Memphis, I wouldn't ever say anything negative about other schools or schools in the SEC or anything that's around the Memphis area. But if you're interested in business, there's a lot to be had in Memphis. And the reason being, you look at all the names that are on this list: Hilton, the AutoZone, International Paper, St. Jude, First Tennessee/First Horizon, State Farm, like all the groups, the amount of great businesses that are sitting in the Memphis area, international businesses that are sitting in the Memphis area that provide a different scope. I had a lot of friends that went to SEC schools that were in small towns that were coming back in the summers or coming back after college without a job because they didn't have the opportunities where they were at to be able to really fully immerse themselves in the business world. And with Memphis, not only what you're learning on the ground, but a lot of the internship opportunities and just the connections that happen. Some of the biggest people and biggest people at some of these companies went to the University of Memphis. So, you won't ever hear me say anything negative about other schools, but when you're looking at business, Memphis really does have a prime opportunity above a lot of other institutions throughout the United States.
All right, hey guys, my name is Therese Wilson, graduate of 2008 at U of M. I'm currently a State Farm agency owner for about a year and a half now, and I did not come to school for that. I majored in sports marketing. While I was there, when I actually applied to the university, this was back in the day where you had to write a letter as to why you wanted to come. And so I told them I wanted to come to Memphis and be Mr. University of Memphis and be the mascot. And I made all these different goals for myself, which I did become the mascot for 3 years, and I became Mr. U of M in 2008. So those experiences, those social aspects, I think that's one thing that I hope we don't leave off is obviously we come to school to get a great education, but the theme here is that we all started out with something and finished with something else. And I think the one thing that was the glue here is our relationships with others, the way we treated people, the experiences we were able to share with different groups and different religions and different types of people from across the country. And that in itself is what catapulted me into what I do with State Farm. State Farm, the territory I'm in, is a southeastern market. We're the number 2 market in the number 2 territory in the country, and our agency is number 3 in that territory. So I didn't have any experience doing this, but I did understand the concept of marketing, the concept of work ethic, obviously the concept of working for the University of Memphis in many capacities with alumni and also athletics, fundraising. All those different things come together for the betterment of yourself whenever you step into that career. So I hope that Memphis is one of your top options and that you choose this university to help you foster great relationships and a great future.
Awesome. Thank y'all so much. So like we said, we have a wide range of experiences. We have a wide range of levels and careers and places and things that they've done. And so we want to hear a little bit about those experiences, but we do want to make sure that y'all are getting a chance, y'all being the students who are here or family members, to ask any questions that you have. So please drop them in the chat. Please use the Q&A feature. If you think it's a silly question, no one can see it but us, so we won't tell anyone, and it's probably not. Someone else is probably thinking it. So I also did want to make sure that you are looking at the chat. So we have a few other staff members and faculty from across campus who are here tonight who can help engage with you and help to answer those questions if you have anything specific about these degree programs. We'll also share that contact info in a slide towards the end of the presentation. So, okay, our first question for our panelists is, what is, I guess we'll say one or two, but if you have a key experience that you had at the University of Memphis that you feel really prepared you for the real world. So whether it's the real world in your job, the real world in your personal life, whatever that may be. So I'll just let whoever wants to unmute first answer that one. We'll get a few responses. All right, we'll go Dave and then Therese.
All right,
David,
I'll
you go first.
Okay, thank you. You know, it's interesting you said a real world experience, but I was going to talk about a senior marketing class that I took where we actually did a simulation. And so the irony there is that simulation and that instructor, that professor, taught us that we had to think broadly, that we had to think about, you know, inventories and advertising and investments. And it was just a very broad project where we were challenged to think through those things, make a lot of decisions, and then see what the quick outcome was. And it taught me that I couldn't just focus on one little piece of the business. And I think it was stated below that, you know, any degree from the Fogelman College of Business is going to help you with a lot of different decisions. And I look back on those experiences quite often that just taught me how to pull information together, how to communicate it, how to explain to people on my team or people at a paper mill or even senior leadership with the company how the trucking market works every day and how we should operate in it to optimize what we want to do as a company. I'm going to hand it over to Therese now.
All right.
Therese, I think you were muted.
For me, there's a couple. Can you hear me? Coming through?
Yeah, you're good.
For me, it was For me, it was a couple of things. Being the UofM mascot, I didn't have support from any departments when it came to making sure I had my work done. And one teacher especially didn't care that I was traveling with the basketball team and football team. And he said, in the real world, you know, nobody's going to care about your excuses. You have to make sure that you are ahead of the game, that you're studying ahead of time, that you're turning your work in ahead of schedule. And that actually helped me in my senior project when I worked for the Memphis Grizzlies. And in that project, it was me leading an assignment to make sure that we created different sales tactics to help the team produce more revenue when the team was the worst in the NBA for a 3-year stretch. And so there were days where, you know, it was long, it was tiring, but the fact that I had this person in my ear telling me nobody cares about what you got going on here, your job is to do this and to do it at a high level. And I was wearing the university's name on my back as a senior, so I had to make sure that we stepped up to the plate there. And so there's some hard lessons you'll learn, and I think one of those is just being an individual who truly takes ownership of the day, ownership of your work, and I'm applying that to the next thing.
I'll go next if no one else wants to go yet. But I would say get involved in a number of things. That's really what prepared me. Is I was involved in a number of student organizations on campus, and they really prepared me by developing my leadership skills, by teaching me, how to communicate properly, how to balance more than one thing happening at any given time. So really, more than just the classroom experience, you're going to learn a lot at the business school. The business school is going to prepare you as best as possible, but those outside organizations, getting involved, making sure that you're having a well-rounded experience matter just as much. I can tell you, I hire people frequently, and one thing that I always want to know is, what has a student or an interviewee, what have they done outside of their work, outside of their classroom? Are they involved? Are they passionate about something? So it really, that was what it was for me. I was heavily involved in Up Till Dawn, which is the fundraising organization on campus for St. Jude. I was involved in Greek life. I was an orientation guide, and all of those things I learned a little bit different, something different in each one of those experiences. I learned, time management when it came to orientation guide. You have to be up at 6 a.m. and, give tours. In Greek life, I had to learn how to lead my peers, in Up Till Dawn, I had to really stay organized and think about, like, how am I going to fundraise? What's a unique idea? And those experiences taught me so much that a classroom just can't. But the U of M provides those opportunities and those experiences. You just have to be courageous enough to step out of your comfort zone and go for it.
Yeah, I would echo some of those sentiments. It's a well-rounded. I think I have two thoughts on this. I think one, I did Up Till Dawn as well. I'm a professional fundraiser is my job. It's a little bit different when you're doing it for fun versus when you do it for your profession, which leads to, I think, the internship opportunities. I did get an internship with St. Jude my junior and senior year. I do think if you have a good internship, it preps you for, I think college is more fun than high school, and then work for a reason, and it kicks your butt a lot of times, and it requires a lot. And again, yeah, no one's really, you do have a support system, but you're expected to get your job done, to do it well, and to achieve goals in a certain way. And having preparation and having people around you to help you through that, whether it's an internship or teachers or just this kind of community, it really does prep you for what's coming after college. And then I'll say the second thing, Therese spoke on it, and it's more of an intangible idea of what, it did well for the real world, is the diversity that is at the University of Memphis, diversity of thought, diversity of people, just the community. It really is. I know someone commented about social life at the University of Memphis. I would say we probably all had a pretty good social life at the University of Memphis, and it's continuing to get better. But the amount of different perspectives and mindsets, people, the world is full of so many different people, different backgrounds, different beliefs. And I've never really seen anything like the University of Memphis, and even the years since, that provides that diversity. Of course, there's small instances of it, but there's not 4 straight years of being around people of all different backgrounds and beliefs, unless you're in certain circumstances. But it really is a very unique situation surrounding so many different people from so many different backgrounds and so many different ideas, that really prepped me for the real world, to be able to speak and just interact with anyone that I come across.
I guess I can go next. Sorry, my internet cut out momentarily, so I dropped off, but I'm back. So one of my key experiences was the University of Memphis offers a great study abroad program, which I took advantage of, and just kind of on a whim. And it's been one of the best decisions of my life. And I chose Costa Rica, and it not only really forces you to kind of gain rapport with individuals in a completely unfamiliar situation, but loving the travel and different culture and international side of things, it really expanded, even my sense of the world, because there's a huge world outside of Memphis. And so it was really that experience that not only created even more connections outside of University of Memphis, but solidified my want to work in the international kind of hospitality industry.
Awesome. Thank y'all so much. Sorry, Mock, I don't mean to cut you off. We want to hear from you too, but I realized as everyone was talking that we have a panelist that I did not allow to introduce herself, and she probably has some really great knowledge because she is a current student. And so she can answer a lot of these questions about, you know, some of the current social climate and the different things at the University of Memphis. So Erica, do you want to do your quick intro that I cut you off from earlier?
Sure. Hey guys, my name is Erica Kinzer. I'm a junior at the University of Memphis right now, majoring in advertising, which is actually in the journalism and strategic media department. But I do have a minor in marketing, which does fall under the Fogelman College of Business. So currently I have an internship at AutoZone in the marketing department, specifically working with media. But yeah, if y'all have any questions about getting internships or anything like that, I think somebody asked in the chat about like how you get internships, and really just applying for as many things as you can, like as many things as possible is, I think, great advice. And you really do make great connections. Like I made a great connection with someone who recommended me for the internship, and just getting your name out there is the best thing you can do.
Awesome. Thank you, Erica. And I feel like I have a good segue here because with internships, so we have a career services department and they have representatives that work directly with each of our colleges. And so not only are they an expert in helping get you an internship or a job, but they have, they're experts in that particular industry. And so some of our people here help with the recruiting for interns for their companies. And so we can talk a little more about that in a second. But Erica also mentioned something in the chat. I saw a question about social life, and people are wanting to know a little bit about the social life. So before we hit maybe internships and some of those preparation experiences, Mock, I cut you off. Maybe you would want to talk a little bit about social life on campus and Greek life. People have asked, was your experience in a Greek organization something that you found beneficial? So I know we've got a variety of people here. We'll let you take that one first.
Yeah, I can definitely take that. You know, during my time in Memphis, I was in Greek life. I was involved in a couple organization and different roles on campus. When you talk about social life at Memphis, you know, the best way I can describe it is kind of how Dixon touched on, is very diverse, very open and diverse, and you know, it's very easy to get connected with others. One of the things that I've heard that really stuck with me is your net worth is your network is your net worth. You know, it's all about who you know and how you get connected. And it's really helped me out a lot, you know, through my involvement and getting connected with others, and really got me in the position that I am today, fortunately. I was walking through Fogelman one day. You know, one of the resources, you know, Seth, you were asking about what resources we have on campus about internships. Well, Fogelman was holding a fall internship fair. And I just happened to be walking through, talking to a couple people, just going table to table, and I talked to somebody at AutoZone. Well, that AutoZoner just happened to be a Memphis graduate a few years prior to my graduation year, and he saw all the involvement that I was a part of in my resume. You know, a few days later, I get a random call, and he's like, "Hey, man, this is Wes from AutoZone. Do you have a few moments to talk?" And next thing you know, we're talking about an opportunity that just happened to open up for the finance department. And you know, at the end of the day, I just happened to get it, and it was you know, very eye-opening to me at that moment how important it is to put yourself out there. You know, owning your own development, getting to know, you know, just anybody on campus, because you just never know who you end up meeting, and how that can help you out further down the road. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know maybe we want to hear from one more person who was in a Greek organization if they want to speak to that. And then we're getting tons of questions, so this is great. But I know I want to do the Greek life experience, and then I want to hear if anybody has any advice about internship preparation. And so I know Dave said something in the chat that might be beneficial. So one more person about getting involved, or fraternity or sorority, or how that prepared you.
I'll go here. So in my organization, I came through my organization in 2005, a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. And I think it's a little bit bigger than just me operating with my fraternity brothers, because there's so many other organizations on campus. So the one thing you want to do is make sure that you are maximizing your output and reaching everybody in those organizations, because today all of us are sitting on a Zoom call. We're all a part of different Greek organizations, all had different experiences, but we all know what it's like to stay up late working on a parade float. We all know what it's like to have chapter and sorority fraternity meetings that last all day long, and you still have a test the next day. You know, there's a different bond that we all share. And there's a statistic when I was a Frost Camp counselor that stated a number that those who are involved are more likely to progress and stay at the university and go off to have good careers and have good grades in school, versus those who choose not to be involved in any capacity, whether it's Greek life or not. So Greek life is not for everybody, but being involved is. And Memphis will make you comfortable and allow you to be comfortable to do anything you want, anything you can dream of, you can do at this school.
Beautiful, thank you. So for internships, I know that we both are College of Business and our our School of Hospitality and Resort Management have internship requirements built into a lot of the degree programs. And so if y'all have any advice for people who know that they will need to get an internship, when should they start? How does that process work?
I would love to start with this because I have a very similar experience to Andrew. I was walking through, I knew that there was a career fair in the fall, and the business school is constantly sending out emails. They notify you when those fairs are coming along. And so I made sure I was dressed in a suit. I had my resume printed off. I, was prepared to give my elevator speech and really sell myself. And I got all of those experiences, that the interview training, the resume training from career services on campus. So I was prepared going in, and I walked out of that building that day with an internship. So I interned at Service Master when I was in between my junior and senior year. And I really, really regret not having an internship sooner. I was just busy with school and thought, oh, that will wait. And it ended up fine. It turned out okay, but I really wish that I would have interned sooner and really pushed to get something closer to my sophomore year. I don't think you can start early enough. An internship is where you're going to get the most exposure to what it really is like to work in the industry that you're interning in and looking to serve in, after college. And it was where I learned what I enjoyed, and it was also where I learned what I did not enjoy. And I think that that's something that is equally important. You don't necessarily understand fully what you enjoy and what you don't enjoy until you live it, and you actually go and you intern and you work with other people in that similar industry. I had a great internship. My first internship was wonderful, and I got a lifelong mentor out of it. But I also learned that it wasn't the type of marketing that I wanted to do. It was direct marketing, so it was very direct mail and email heavy. And what I walked out of that from was wonderful references, a great mentor as an old boss for references, and I was able to go then seek out additional internships that align more closely with the work that I had seen that I did enjoy while I was an intern. The other thing is, as an intern, you get to ask questions that an employer allows a little more freely because you're an intern. So you can say, hey, I want to go shadow someone in this area for a day or two. As an intern, that's a lot more flexible with your employer than if you're hired full time and you get into something and you're like, wow, I really don't enjoy this. And you don't have the time or the freedom to go shadow people like you will in an internship. So I just can't stress heavily enough how important internships are, and starting earlier, because you could get into it and realize, I actually don't want to do this. I think Dixon mentioned, he was an accounting major and realized, I maybe don't love accounting, and that's okay. As long as you have the experience, and then you can kind of plan around what your next step is going to be.
I want to just say real quick, I do echo Ashley and even David said starting early, but I do think there isn't just a checklist method of how to get internships. You can start early, but then some places don't want you to start until you're a junior or a senior. Some places you may get an opportunity as a freshman or sophomore, and if you get those, take them if you think you feel like you want to do it. There are going to be the internship fairs. There are going to be the things that you walk by, especially at Fogelman. They're always having people come from all the biggest companies that are all around, and there are so many opportunities. But my first internship with St. Jude strictly was because I was involved with Up Till Dawn, and one of the advisors from Up Till Dawn who works at St. Jude was like, "You should come work for me." And that was in a completely informal, just come over here, try this. And ultimately, I mean, I've been doing it for 8 years now. So, that was a completely informal situation that led to it. And I would guess is there's people right here in this room that have had the same thing, whether it's, being within the athletic area and getting opportunities and getting to meet those connections, or being at some kind of brunch or luncheon or something that involved Fogelman that wasn't so much about getting internships, but it was more just about making those connections. And so while there is a checklist of and so many resources to use, it's also just making sure that you are meeting people that you want to meet and trying to put yourself in the situations you want to be in to be able to be successful.
So Paige, I would just like to add real quick that kind of going back to what was said earlier, the University of Memphis has a lot of very good ties with a lot of very good companies. FedEx is one of the bigger names, hasn't maybe been mentioned here. But those internships, if you can't, like Dixon said, get one early, start planning on them early, because they're so important to do all the things what these panelists have said. They let you try things without it being permanent. They let you make decisions, ask questions. You can do that. International Paper, we have several different ways to do internships. One that we do in the supply chain is more of a co-op than an internship. We take typically some sophomores, some juniors, an occasional senior, and it's a 6-month program where they get to do real work. They get paid full time. They get 6 credit hours for that period. A lot of the students continue to take classes online or at night, obviously online right now more, but it's just a great connection. And there's other places within the Fogelman College of Business where you'll make those business connections besides internships. I'm part of a program that's a mentoring program called Mile that matches mentors from the business community to students. And I've learned a lot myself all the way through this by having proteges in that program, and wish that existed when I was in school to have that benefit. But it's just a lot of different ways to connect with real world experiences at the university.
Yes, very good points. And I think there's a few questions that this sort of sums up, I would say. So some people have asked things like, what can one do in business besides owning a business? Well, hopefully just hearing a little bit about the path that some of these people have taken shows you that there's no one thing. You can think that maybe you are going to go on this straight path of being a marketing major who ends up working in marketing, and then you end up in supply chain, or vice versa. And so I think the biggest thing that I would say to answer that question and sum up what they have all said is find those experiences that help you narrow it down while you're in college. It's okay to change. And that is another question that I want to hear from everybody, just sort of as a show of hands. But it's definitely okay to change your major, especially if it's something like, I have a general idea. I know I want to be in this general area. Now, how do I get there? Because a lot of your prerequisite requirements are going to be similar in the same college. So if you stay in the College of Business, or if you stay in hospitality, or if you stay in the College of Education, it's going to be easier to move around than if you decide junior year you want a complete change of heart. That might be a little bit different, but you will have an academic advisor who is there all along the way to make sure that you are staying on track to graduate, taking courses that apply to your degree program, and all of those things. So the resources are there. It's really just about using them and not waiting to figure those things out. A question that we got was, how likely are students to change their major? So if I could get a show of hands of how many of you changed your major at least once, hold up your hand. Okay. And keep holding it. Anybody change it twice? Anybody change it 3 times? I don't know when to stop. 4? Okay. So three will be the line on this call. And they both graduated in a reasonable amount of time. And so the biggest thing, again, it is normal to change your major, but the biggest piece is make sure you're talking to people, make sure you're not just changing it willy-nilly without figuring out how it's going to affect your course schedule and all that. Let's see. Kyle, did you have any questions that you have seen that I've missed before I move on to one of my questions?
Sure. Yeah, there's one that says, would you encourage students to have a dual major in hospitality and business? If so, what major will you pair together? So any of you who maybe know people who majored in more than one thing, or if you considered that at some point, talk a little bit about what that looked like for you or them.
I can only speak to my experience, and I was a hospitality major, I believe my junior year of college, and then senior year I decided I just kind of wanted to shift a little bit over into business because it wasn't, the credentials that I needed weren't that different, so it wasn't that big of a shift. So I just wanted to remind everybody, I wanted to be in hospitality, but I didn't know if I wanted to be in hospitality forever. So I thought business is a happy medium. But in companies, in large companies, we've got huge departments of accounting, finance, human resources, marketing. Anything you can think of in the business school can fit into, a hospitality company like mine. So I didn't necessarily get my degree in hospitality, but I took a lot of hospitality courses. I knew I really wanted to be in hospitality. I just didn't know if that was my lifelong career, which it probably will now end up being. So that's my experience. Just remember that, at Hilton, a hospitality degree is awesome, but it's not going to, having any other degree is not going to stop you from getting into a hospitality company.
I also, and this is just a short comment, I think your major, this is probably completely contradictory. Yes, you want to major in what you think you love the most, but your major doesn't determine your life. I work with people that are English majors and history majors, and they are high up at major fundraising organizations and know what they're doing and extremely intellectual and, know how to work with people. And so you can bop around. I don't know. I did spend some time in the hospitality, and I switched out specifically because of what Allison said, the more broad area of expertise. But I learned things in that hospitality area. I mean, hospitality is all about basically working with people. But I do think as you get in and you're figuring out, also have faith that no matter what your degree is, have that faith in yourself that you'll be able to do it, because that's not going to determine your life. You're not going to be stuck in that same degree in that just same industry if you don't want to be.
And I think as students start to look through the curriculums, they can start to understand what is a good way to kind of branch out. Is management a good minor that has great classes that would help in leadership, HR, things like that. I'd be remiss if I didn't plug supply chain. It's a broad degree or a minor that teaches you how to buy things, how to plan things, how to move things. So, there's bits and pieces of supply chain and a lot of things that could be a good minor or a good major. But the breadth that you get, and I think, again, to what Dixon said, the breadth that you get in an education like that's offered at the University of Memphis just gives you a lot of avenues to go in a lot of different areas. And then that way you can make changes. Like I said, I started in customer service. I now work in supply chain, and I know people that have worked in finance that started there. So it just gives you that scope that you can kind of go and do many things.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's very good advice. Just thinking, we'll quote you, Dixon, your major does not define your life. It's important to find something that works for you, that you can do well in, and that you build skills that will help you in your career. And so my favorite example of this is that we had a former dean of students at the University of Memphis who was an undergraduate theater major. He still does theater on the side, but that was not the path where he found himself. So we don't recommend choosing something that you don't think you'll end up in, but know that there is hope regardless. And definitely lots of ways to add minors and different things that you'll be able to have a really rich experience. Speaking of rich experience, a few questions about how do you join clubs. So we have sold the involvement experience so well that people are now ready to learn how. And so Erica, I want to let you talk a little bit about how can you get involved at the University of Memphis. And the specific question was, do people reach out to you? Is there a pamphlet? What do you do?
Yes. So the first week of school in the fall and the spring, there's always lots of involvement fairs. So most all clubs on campus will have tables at all of these involvement fairs that you can go up and get free stuff from. If you just want to go up and get the free t-shirt and leave, you can do that. But I would not recommend. But you can go up and just gather whatever information you want to get from whatever table you want to go to, and then from there, gather that information for yourself and just decide what you think would be most beneficial for you. I would also like to say, while we're talking about this, don't try and do everything at once. Like, don't try and join 6 clubs while you're a freshman or in your first semester, because you are going to drown under the weight of that workload, because that's just so much to do. Pick and choose which organizations you think are going to be the most beneficial to you, and help you just grow as a person. Another thing about clubs, you don't have to join, like, if you want to be a business major, you don't have to join only business clubs. You can go out and join Greek life or a religious group, or like I am a part of Tiger Elite, which is why I'm here talking to you. So that's in the admissions department. Like, I'm part of things that have nothing to do with marketing or advertising, but I still think they're growing my leadership skills and just my knowledge of people and things like that. So don't think that if you major in business, you have to do everything business for the rest of your life and for the rest of college. You can do whatever you want to do.
Thank you. Perfect. Also, there are some really good things being added in the chat, just because I know we want to be mindful of time, and we have so many people here with such great experiences, and then y'all are asking such great questions. So please make sure you're checking in some of those things in the chat and catching those valuable resources. I know Frosh Camp was something that is mentioned. We'll talk about next steps in just a little bit, but that's a great program that I know a few people here have ties to, either as going through that as a incoming student or serving as a counselor, which are the current students that help out. And so y'all will hopefully remember some of these things when you enroll, because we want you to all enroll at Memphis. And things like words like orientation guide and Frosh Camp counselor, and acronyms like SAC, SAC, they become part of the lingo. And college is nothing if not a bunch of free t-shirts, right? So there's all these different opportunities that hopefully, if you don't know exactly what they are just yet, some of that will land and you'll remember from this call. So again, being mindful of time, I want to ask one final question for our panelists, and we'll see how many we can get to answer. And then we will finish up after that with just a few wrap-up things. So next steps, for those of y'all who are seniors and you're thinking, okay, I loved it so much that I'm ready to sign up, right? So we'll tell you what you need to be thinking about and kind of what happens after this. And then we'll hang around and answer any questions that you have and give you some ways to reach out to our different staff members. So let's see, I'm trying to choose between 2 questions. I think that the question that I want to end with is, what do you think is the best thing or your favorite thing about the University of Memphis? Because that seems like something that we can all feel good about ending on. And whoever wants to go first can take that one. Allison?
Okay, I'll go ahead. Sorry. I guess really quickly, my favorite thing is, what I really enjoyed about University of Memphis was the size of it. It's large enough that there's a very diverse population. In a large population, you get to see new people every day, but also it still feels like a community. Like, I could walk to one class and see 5 people I know, and I really enjoyed that. It was like a happy medium size for me.
For me, it was the process from start to finish. It was coming in as a freshman, going to Frosh Camp, to then being, somebody who was an orientation guide and Frosh Camp counselor and helping somebody else develop and grow, to the social aspect, to what I learned in the classroom, to having the ability to be able to create events that other people could have fun at. And then on the backside of this thing, it's bigger than just going to school and getting your degree. It's what are you going to do to give back once you're an alum, right? So are you contributing money back to the university to help them move along, another freshman or senior who's trying to get their start in a career? So what we're doing right now is that last step And this is a part of that puzzle as well. And hopefully in the future, you guys will see this process as one that you love, and you'll be on this panel with us. By then, we'll probably be in our 50s and 60s. But we appreciate the fact that the university allows us to be who we intrinsically know that we are, and we can execute those strategies in open world in real time.
I think that this is a difficult one, Paige, so good ending. But I think the thing that I love the most is just I walked away, I graduated in 4 years, and I don't feel like I missed out on any opportunity. I had a very well-rounded experience. Similar to what Therese was saying, I was able to have a social life. I was able to have access to, great internships within the city of Memphis because it is a larger city with large corporations. I was able to, have a great education through the Fogelman College. And so I didn't have any one area where I was like, I really wish I would have had X, or I wish I would have, done this. I got the full experience, and everything that you think you'll want to do in college, the University of Memphis has it. I know that's a broad stroke, but if you are seeking something out, I guarantee that the University of Memphis likely has it, and the resources, in my opinion, are unmatched.
I would say for me, it is getting nicer every year. I would say David probably had a different experience on campus than Therese and Allison, and then, than what Ashley and myself had, and then even Mock, Andrew. It's nicer now. Like, we were paying for a brand new fitness center that for all 4 of my years, a lot of money went into that for something I never got to see. So it's continuing to get nicer. They're continuing to put investment. That's not just in the buildings and the campus, but the people too. And it's expanding over to Jackson in so many different areas. But I truthfully say what I love the most, and especially over the last everything that's just happened in our world, the amount of people in the community that I formed there, whether it's coming back, coming back and seeing so many friends at football games or basketball games, or if it's, just keeping up with people from so many different areas. Like, I've had multiple conversations with friends and family over the past year of how much of a blessing it was to go somewhere that was such a mesh of just different people, and really being able to form that empathy that, to really care about what's happening in this world, to care about everybody, no matter where you're from. That's something I took away from the University of Memphis and still carry to this day, just because I've seen people who have had different experiences or maybe kind of go different directions and don't have the opportunities of the people and the resources that Memphis as a city and Memphis as a school really have. So that's probably what I'm the most appreciative of.
I think that's the key too. It's the people that you'll meet, and the fact that you're in a city that's connected to the university, and there's a lot of people that feel a strong bond with the university, and you still run into those people. If you come to the University of Memphis, you'll see our mayor is a graduate of the University of Memphis. The district attorney, there's so many people that have a deep connection, and you just get to be involved in so many things. That was true 30 years ago, and it's true now. If you love basketball, you've got that. If you love the arts, you've got that. We're in a good sized town, but it feels like a small town sometimes. And you're at a good sized university, but I think it was mentioned, it's not so big that you get lost in it.
Yeah, one thing that I'll add, just piggyback off of that, is people. Not only the students that you get involved with and getting to know, but also the faculty and the staff. I know that, and I'm not just saying this, but Paige and Kyle was a big part of my development, getting me ready to really enter the real world, from a leadership standpoint to everything. Would not be here if it weren't for them. And not only that, your teachers, your professors, they truly care about your success. I have a favorite teacher. His name is Professor Nevels. He was my intermediate accounting professor, and he had a wide open door for me, not only for the materials that we were learning in class, but anything that I needed help on, my resume, my interview prep, finding connections in the world that he had to different businesses and his contacts there. I'd say that's the biggest thing, is the people. So.
Thank you. We'll give you your check after this for giving us that special shout out. No, just kidding. Erica, was there anything that they missed? It's okay if you say no, because there's some great things.
Yeah, I think they got it all. I think one of my favorite things is just tiger blue, you know, it's a great color to wear.
Everybody looks good in blue. I agree. Well, thank y'all so much. I wish that, oh, hey, we have a hat appearance. I wish that we could stay and chat with y'all all night, but I know that you have that we have our panelists probably have things to get to, and I know students and families that y'all want to probably get on with your night, but we will have plenty of other opportunities for virtual and in-person events. And so we hope that you'll continue to engage with us. One question that I wanted to ask that maybe some of our panelists will throw in the chat as we're closing was about some of your favorite classes or favorite professors. So if you want to plug a great class that you took at the University of Memphis in the chat, feel free. And I'm going to turn it over to Kyle to wrap things up. Thank y'all. Great questions, great engagement, and we hope to see you again at some future activities.
Awesome. Thank you, Paige. And thank you to all of our panelists for joining us this evening. I know that y'all have busy lives doing all of the wonderful things that you do. And so we appreciate you taking the time to chat with us tonight. On the screen now, you'll see some contact information for both our Fogelman College of Business and Economics, as well as our Kimmons Wilson School of Hospitality and Resort Management. Some of these folks who are on the screen were actually here tonight in the chat, including Dr. Radesh Palakurthy, the Dean of the Kimmons Wilson School. And so if y'all have questions of them at any point, please feel free to reach out to them via that contact information, and they'll be happy to engage with you. A couple of other things that I want to share is about what's next in the admissions process. If you've not applied for admission yet and you're planning to attend at some point this fall, go ahead and submit your application so that you get that out of the way and you'll have a clearer picture of everything that's coming next after that. If you've been admitted at this point and you've not applied for scholarships, you still have time to do that as well. You should have received some correspondence from our scholarship office with more details on how to apply for scholarships if you've not done that already. For those of you who have not completed the FAFSA, I encourage you to do all of that as well. Just visit fafsa.ed.gov. This is the best way to get a clearer picture of what your finances will be once you get here to the university, and there's a whole bunch of money that's available through that. And so go ahead and fill that out. And as soon as you do, you'll get some correspondence from our financial aid office with information about financial aid packages. If you're planning to live on campus, which we all encourage, some of the folks in the chat were even talking about that, the portal for registering for housing opens on February 18th. So just next week, I think a week from today maybe. And you can log into that portal. There's a $45 non-refundable fee that you can pay and choose the dorm that best fit your wants or needs. And then also we encourage you to visit campus. We relaunched our campus tours last fall and are hosting tours every day, Monday through Friday, both at 9:30 and 1:30. And we're doing so in a safe way. We have social distancing protocols in place. Of course, we require masks on campus until we're on the other side of this pandemic. But if you want to come to campus and see what it's like, get a feel for some of the things that these folks have talked about tonight, we certainly encourage you to register for a campus visit. We'll be happy to have you. And then finally, new student orientation. This is where you come back in the summer to meet other future Tigers. You'll register for your classes and learn a little bit more about what it takes to be a Tiger on campus. The portal for that opens in early March, and we'll be hosting sessions all throughout the summer, starting in May and wrapping up in August. They're going to be 2 days for freshmen and then 1 day for transfer students. And of course, we'll make sure that those are safe as well. And to sign up for that, you'll just visit memphis.edu/NSO. And we'll be sending more correspondence out about that as well. That's all that we have in terms of next steps. Again, thank y'all for joining us. We know that this year has not been easy, and the college search process looks a little different than it normally does. So thank y'all for joining us. And again, thank you to our alums for joining us and sharing about your experience as well. I hope y'all have a good night and stay safe, and we'll hope to see you on campus soon. Thank y'all.